I'm assuming that that you have a lot to ask about Yinnergy or anything surrounding Yinnergy, associated with Yinnergy, or anything like that. Any questions you have about it, ask away. I'll do the best I can to answer them. Some answers I may not know, only because I may not know something about the brain or whatever, since I'm not a neurologist. But I have a lot of theory, speculation, and information that's been passed down through HoloSync and what I personally learned from Yinnergy. But it is also different for different people and all that. So I'll do the best I can. And Nathan has some of his stuff too. He's a slacker, so whatever he says for Yinnergy, just think about it this way: second level, 10-year period. 10-year period. He doesn't have much to offer in regards to. Remember, second level.
No, he's lying.
Third now? Is it third?
I've been waiting for the fourth. Won't give it to me for some reason.
Yeah, because you're not finished the third. I can't give you the fourth if you haven't finished the third.
I've been finished the third for like years now, and you hold
Bro,
it off.
I just gave you the third.
You don't want me to see enlightenment.
I'm
scared.
I'm not trying to cheat you out of enlightenment. Like, come on. You haven't reported to me that you've done 180 sessions of level 3. I can't. You don't give me the information. I can't help you. You just say I want level 4. Everybody asks for level 4. I can't just give it to them.
Look, I did it for a year straight, like just in and in,
level
in
3?
and out. Yeah, level 3.
Bro, I just gave that to you.
That was like that.
Oh no, the one I just gave you was that test, was that prototype.
Yeah. Back
to level 2, right?
Stop bringing me down, man.
No, I'm not bringing you down. The prototype that is a level 2. Is a level 2. I'm not trying to downgrade you.
Upgrade me.
You haven't said to me, oh, by the way, I finished level 3. You've never said this to me. You just say I'm on level 3, right? And with your 10-year period, I don't know what's going on with you. Like, I don't know, like, how often are you doing this? Whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you don't say anything.
I've done level 3 enough to the point where I got used to it. It's just like another thing. So
have you done 180 sessions of level 3?
I mean, a year is 180.
Yeah,
whatever.
It doesn't mean you've been doing it every day for a year. It just means that you've had it and you've been using it for a year. Those are 2 different things. I need to know if you've done 180 sessions with level 3. That's all. If you haven't, do not ask me for level 4.
Well, I have.
I've said this a million times with you. Do not ask me for level 4 until you finish 180 sessions of level 3.
I mean, like if 180 sessions is like, if a year is 360 days, then on 180.
Okay, let me just ask you another way. Have you done it every day for a year?
Yes.
You have?
Yeah.
That's all you have to tell me. If you've done that, you're ready for level 4. You've never told me this. You see how easy it is? Just tell me you've done it every day for a year. And I'll be like, gosh, you're more than ready for level 4.
Every time I told you, you just looked the other way, like, oh, all right, okay.
No,
like,
you just said,
one year
I want level 4. Like,
yeah,
I asked me for level 4 yesterday. I'm like, I can't give you level 4 until you finish level 3. Actually, not even on level. He's like level 2. So until you finish level 2, you got to go through level 3. And he's like, all right, I'll get back to you. And then he hits me up months in, and he's like, oh my gosh, Yinnergy's kicking my ass. I don't know what to do. So you see, I'm like, you're not ready for level 3 or 4. Right? So yeah. This doesn't have to be an argument. Just tell me you've done a whole year of level 3, and I'll give you level 4.
I'm gonna tell you for like 2 straight years now. You just look the other way. Just asking the question. Yo, man, anyone
You know how brutal the pandemic was? You think I got time to listen to how many sessions you've done? After the pandemic, you just said, hey, buddy, I did 365 sessions. You should have said something.
We met in the pandemic multiple times, okay?
This guy is such a liar. I'm telling you this right now. This guy is lying through his teeth.
Oh my God!
He thinks I'm trying to hold him back. So he's telling everybody, oh, Morgan's trying to hold me back. He doesn't want me to succeed. He doesn't want me to reach my full potential. I'm glad I have that kind of power, but bro.
Doesn't want me to see the light. You know, I've been trying to see the light for years. He's been shutting me out.
I want you to see the light. I'm not holding you back, bro. But you didn't give me enough information. That's all. You will get level 4. I should start charging you like I charge everybody. I should be charging you for that.
Charge me all the time.
Oh, I do. Okay, good. Good. Just to keep. I should be charging you double then.
Charge me.
Give me headaches.
the price goes up every time. You know what I'm saying?
Price keeps going up.
Yeah, it's just like every time, yo, can I get level 2? The price, today's price. Is it today? Yesterday's price. It's whatever the saying is. I can't remember. But you know what I'm saying. I don't know.
Okay. Well, at least we got that settled. You ready for level 4? All right. Okay.
And I would just love to hear more. You were talking about message here about how the deeper carrier frequencies have a higher amplitude, which are probably stimulating parts of the limbic system and the reptilian brain. I'm curious to hear more about how Yinnergy stimulates your subconscious in such a way that it releases what's stuck in there. Like that's what's happening, right? Like as you go through this process, it's cumulative. And if you like work something out, then it's worked out, right? Or is it something that can kind of re-knot itself?
I wish I knew what was actually happening. I know when you're going through, we all have brainwave activity that are coming from our neurons that's creating this brainwave activity. So when your brain activity slows down, it happens through cycles per second. So when they slow down, they'll slow down. Just say right now, roughly we're in beta. As soon as you close your eyes, you start to go into alpha. So alpha, your brainwave starts to slow down, and then you start to slow down, and then you can slow down into theta, and then you can slow down into delta. Once you get into delta, delta is supposed to be the brainwave that you produce when you're unconscious.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, when you're unconscious. So that's where your unconscious mind comes online. But theta is the brainwave that slows down. Theta is the brainwave when you're tapping into your subconscious. So you have your conscious, which is like beta. Beta. You slow down in alpha, then you start to slow down into theta, and so now you're in the realms of your subconscious, and then you go into delta, and that's the realms of your unconscious part of the mind. Keep in mind that all the stuff that you've ever accumulated throughout the moment that you were conceived is stored in your unconscious mind. So keep that in mind. So in the unconscious mind, there's levels. So I can't remember all the levels off the top of my head at the moment, but the very bottom level is called the ground unconscious. That's the ground of all your potential. That can ever happen mentally, emotionally, all that stuff in terms of your personal growth and your evolution, your potential. All that is in your ground unconscious.
Ooh.
So let me see if I have this right now. So there is another level called the archaic. That's the second level of your unconscious, and that's where all your impulses come from. So your impulses, desires, type of things, all that nasty stuff comes from there. So when you're a baby, and the moment that you wanted to be breastfed, you cried. That's coming out of your archaic unconscious. That's also when you had to use the bathroom, you just took a crap. There was no saying, well, I can't do it here, I should use the toilet, blah, blah, blah. None of that is happening there because you haven't developed an ego yet. So that would be coming out of your archaic. After archaic, I think the next level is submergent, if I have that right. And the submergent is the level where when you, if I have this right, the things that you're conscious of right now, some of those things gets buried into your unconscious. That's the submergent, if I have that correct. So what is conscious becomes unconscious. So in that level, in that case, if you ever get traumatized, it doesn't even have to be trauma to that level, but if you get traumatized, what you do is, to deal with it, you may take that information and throw it into your unconscious part of the mind, for out of your own ego's protection. So anything that you disowned, you may throw there, but it doesn't have to. It doesn't just have to come out of trauma. It could be anything. It could be anything like, say, your parents had a problem with, I don't know, had a problem with a group of people, and you've stored that information because that's part of your. It's now part of your belief system. So because they represent the superego and they have this problem with a group of people, you may take that information and store it there, and it becomes a dark shadow. So anytime you're encountered by that group of that group of people, or a person who represents that group, you get triggered, and you don't know why you're triggered. You probably even know that you probably don't even realize that you have a problem with the group, because maybe you don't. It's just it became a dark shadow because that was part of the belief system of the superego. So you're now triggered every time you encounter that group of people or the person that represents that group. So in that case, that's become a dark shadow, and that just means you've taken this information that's conscious, you made it unconscious for your own protection, for whatever reasons, for it not to make you uncomfortable, and you've now disowned it. So you don't even act like it's there. So you ignore it, you disown it, you do everything you can to not even look at it because that thing is shameful to you, and that's become a dark shadow. And that's just one example of a dark shadow. Dark shadows come in 4 different ways, but that's one aspect of a dark shadow. And so what Yinnergy does in products like Yinnergy, there's also HoloSync. There's not too many that use carrier frequencies, but Yinnergy and HoloSync, what it does is, because you're spending a lot of time in the unconscious, because you're spending on classic Yinnergy, because there's different types of Yinnergy too. So I've made different variations of Yinnergy, but the classic one that most people are using, you're spending about a good 40 minutes in delta. So you're spending a good 40 minutes in trying to purge what's trapped in your unconscious mind. Right, and again, your unconscious mind, they're made up of different levels of the unconscious, but one of them has to do with repressing memories, repressing information, memories, that type of stuff. The different types of the shadow is fixation, holding on, disowning, dissociation, and extreme letting go. So that's the best way to do it. So the word I'm looking for has to do with fixation, but I can't remember what the word is for whatever reason. But it has to do with fixation, because you have fixation, holding on. So fixation, you're fixed on the thing. You can't move on from that because maybe at one point in your life, it's brought you a lot of benefit. But now that you're growing up and you shouldn't need any, it's kind of like if you're riding a bike and you're first using training wheels. Now you should get to the point where you can balance without using the training wheels, but you don't want to remove them because you feel really, really safe when you use the training wheels. That's now a fixation. All right. Someone has to, all the other kids have to be like, hey, why are you still using training wheels? You have to be so embarrassed to the point where he's like, oh, mom, dad, can you remove the training wheels off my bike? The kids are making fun of me. And then you taking chances without the training wheels. Right? So that would be a fixation.
You can do it yourself. You're 28. Just take them off yourself.
You're 28. That is a one hell of a fixation. Still using training wheels and 28. People moved on. They're now driving vehicles and everything. You're still stuck with training wheels on your bike.
Just riding to work. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Jim, what's going on? No one ever mentions it. They never say it in front of you. They just like, can you believe Jim is still riding a bike with training wheels? I know, it's kind of weird, eh? Imagine him trying to carpool. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. All right, and you have disowning, which I mentioned already. When you disown something, you push it to the side. You don't even take a look at it. You leave it alone. You keep it buried. You keep it stored. Dissociation. Oh, that's not me. That's not what we do. That's not what I do. I don't do that. You disassociate from it. I have no part in that thing that you're talking about. It can't be me. It must be you. Yeah, there's no way that's me. That's you. You're the one. You're the cause of what's happening to me. You're doing it, and that's when you do that type of stuff. And extreme letting go. That could be like, say, like, you know, we're on a spiritual path, and we're on a spiritual path, and there could be things that are regular things that happens in everyday life, but because we want to, some of us wants to separate ourselves from the norm. There's things that I don't do that anymore. That's not my thing. I've transcended that. All right. That can also end up becoming a shadow as well. Yeah, we don't do those things. I've transcended that. Oh, I don't watch TV. You hear that a lot from people. I don't watch TV. I don't even own a TV. That type of thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but that can end up becoming a shadow.
That makes sense. So these are like
that stuff goes into that part of the unconscious mind.
So these are almost like different mechanisms that the unconscious uses to deal with the shadows.
Yeah, I would say that. Mechanisms to deal with the shadows. Yeah, so these are things just to keep in mind, because meditation on its own doesn't do a great job of dealing with shadows. But you can, if you're doing other practices, other work, like shadow work and you know, plant medicine, things of that sort, it can help you deal with those things a lot better than doing either one alone.
Yeah.
Right. But things like Yinnergy does go deeper than traditional meditation. So it is going in there. You still may have to get other means to help you deal with whatever it is that's coming up for you.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because you can crack it open, but if you don't have some way of working with it, then you have all this unconscious material here, and you don't necessarily know what to do with it.
Yeah, or you may get to the point where you'd be like, whatever happens, let it be okay, and you just allow them to happen. You could be that person too, but it could be bothering everybody else, just not you.
Yeah.
Right. So this is not just about us. We also have to include other people. So that's where that could be helpful if you have professionals, therapists, or whoever it is, a shadow worker working with you in these cases, because you may get to the point where you transcended it. It doesn't mean it's not dysfunctional. It just means you've transcended it from the point where it's not bothering you anymore, which is the goal, right? You don't want things to bother you anymore, but it's not good if you know, these things are coming up and it's bothering everyone else and you're not doing anything about it, right? Since we are part of a social group. So these are just things to keep in mind on the path, because the path still has a lot of traps.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So yeah, we're not exempted from that. There's still traps that happens on every level of development. So we just have to keep remembering that. So for some reason, Yinnergy, because you're stimulating those brain waves, or you're producing those brain waves, which you do naturally, but you're going into these brain waves with a lower carrier frequency. So I should explain what a carrier frequency is if I can. So a carrier frequency, if you had two tones, and this is what makes a binaural beat. So if you had two tones, one tone, one side of the ear had 5 hertz, and the other side of the ear had 10 hertz. Your brain is making the difference of 5 hertz. So it's making the difference between the 2 hertz. 5 and 10 gives you 5. Gives you the difference, which is 5. So 5 and 10. 5 is the lower pitch frequency than 10. So the 5 becomes the carrier frequency, and the 10 is. I froze? Am I back?
You froze a little bit. Yeah, you're back.
See, these construction workers, I swear. I'm gonna. They're also the big holes in the ground and everything. I don't know what they're hitting over there. So let me see if I can go back a little bit. So you have your 5 and you have your 10, because 5 is the lesser out of the two. Your 5 hertz is your carrier frequency, and your 10 hertz is your onset frequency. So the lower pitch frequency becomes the carrier for the higher pitch frequency, because it has a higher amplitude. So it becomes the carrier of the other frequency. So
okay. Yeah.
So if I wanted to have a higher carrier frequency, because the one I just gave you is a very, very low carrier frequency because it's 5. But if I gave you a higher one, say if I gave you what would it be? How do I make this up here? I always have a hard time going up. I have a better time going down. So let me start again. Let me go with a higher carrier frequency and work my way down. I'm going to go with a really high one. So just say if I had 100 hertz, right? And the other one was 105, right? The 100 hertz is the carrier frequency, and the 105 is the onset frequency. So the 100 hertz is going to carry the 105. So your brain is going to make a binaural frequency of 5, right? Because it's the difference between the two. But the 100 hertz pitch frequency is the lower carrier frequency versus the 105, which is the higher pitch frequency, because the 100 hertz is the carrier frequency. It's the stronger frequency that will carry the other frequency. And there's ways to show too visually what it's doing when it carries the other wave. So if I wanted to make a lower carrier frequency, I can do 90 and 95. Yeah, I can do 90, 95. So 90 becomes the new carrier frequency, 95 is the onset frequency. And so you still get a frequency of 5, which is the beat frequency. So the beat frequency is what you're meditating to. Your brain starts to produce a frequency of 5, right? But you're at a lower carrier frequency, which is 90. And you can do this all the way down until you get to the bottom. But at that point, you have to make sure your headphones can manage those lower carrier frequencies. So headphones is an issue when you get to the lower carrier frequencies, because most headphones can't handle the very, very lower ones, that happens. So yeah, so that gives you a lower carrier frequency. Because you're meditating to a lower carrier frequency, you're still meditating to a frequency of 5. That's your beat frequency. So keep in mind, you have your pitch frequency that goes up and down. You have your carrier frequency and your onset frequency. The carrier frequency is the lower one of the two. The onset frequency is the higher one of the two. And then you have your what did I just say? Was that your carrier frequency?
The pitch frequency.
Oh yeah, so I did the pitch. I did the carrier, because the one lower of the two is the carrier, and the difference of the two is your beat. Is your beat frequency. So you're meditating to the beat frequency of the 3 that I'm mentioning. That's what your brain will resonate to. Will resonate to a beat frequency of 5, but at a lower carrier frequency. A lower carrier frequency just means, in this sense, it means that the beat that you're listening to is stronger than it was before.
Okay.
Because it has a higher amplitude.
And what,
lower carrier frequency, but a higher amplitude. This just means strength. More strength in the frequency that you're meditating to. So what happens? I think I froze again. It's a lot of freezing today.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Probably at the end of this, I can only use like 2 bits out of this whole thing
right now.
Oh my gosh. Good thing I wasn't doing the group meditation right now. Oh my gosh. Everyone would be so ruined. Okay. This sucks. Okay. So am I back?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Put your ass hands.
This is good. So what how far did I get before I froze?
I didn't catch what the pitch frequency is. So I got the beat, the onset, and the carrier, but the pitch is not clear to me.
Pitch is not clear? The pitch is just the frequency itself. So it's like levels. It's like high and low. All it is high and low. So the pitch is just the pitch. So it really means what the word really stands for. That's what it is. So it's just a frequency at a lower or higher pitch. So 5 hertz pitch frequency is just 5 hertz. 200 pitch frequency is 200. Right. So that's your pitch. Goes up and down. Right. But as soon as I take another beat, as soon as I take another pitch frequency, if one is slightly lower or higher than the other one, it will create a beat frequency in the center of your brain. And your brain will resonate to that. Did I froze again?
No, you're fighting through it.
Oh.
It's like it's like it's I don't know, high low. I don't know.
Man, this sucks. And I'm doing everything I can to yeah. So that's what it is. So you're meditating to the beat frequency. The beat frequency is what's important in regards to the meditation, but the carrier frequency is important in regards to the strength of the meditation. So if you're using a higher carrier frequency, I'm using a lower one. We may be both meditating in a delta state, but my delta state is stronger only because the carrier frequency is making it stronger.
Oh, is that the difference between the different levels of Yinnergy?
Yeah. Yeah. The carrier frequencies get lower and lower and lower until there are no longer any more carrier frequencies to lower. So that's the difference. That's why I can't give you like level 12. As opposed to level 1, because level 12 has too much of a lower carrier frequency, and your brain and nervous system has to refine itself before accepting something like a level 12 that has a very low carrier frequency.
Can't give you level 4 either. I don't know why. You know. Yeah,
because level 4, I know it's too low for you, Nathan. I know you can't handle it because you've cried a lot on the other levels. So I just imagine what level 4 is going to do to you. right? I just don't want to baby you anymore, so that's why I'm trying to protect you.
Cry. I cry 3 times a week. What's the matter? I'm a crying. I'm emotional, man. Okay.
It's true. It's true. You're an emotional guy, and you should cry. You know, you should let that stuff go. You're right. You're right. I just don't want to be around for it. I'll leave that to your sister, Lauren.
Yeah.
Somehow, when you're using a lower carrier frequency, which is a stronger amplitude, it has more effect on, because you're producing brainwaves that are also higher in amplitude. So I just don't know the connection between a higher amplitude brainwave, why all these things starts to happen. That part I don't really know. But you start producing a brainwave because your brain resonates to anything that it's listening to. So by using a beat frequency with a higher amplitude, your brain waves will resonate to that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And for some reason that produces the same sensations and the same experiences and all this stuff that traditional meditation does. It's just, it happens a lot quicker.
Oh, so you said the lower the carrier frequencies, the higher the amplitude?
The higher the amplitude, which just means the stronger the stronger the wave.
Interesting.
So I think it's probably easy to say, this is just a speculation of mine. It's probably easy to say that people who are producing brain waves that has a lower amplitude, brainwaves that are producing a lower amplitude would mean the opposite of what we're trying to achieve, right? Because the lower when you lower the carrier frequency, I can never remember all the terms because I haven't studied this stuff in a while. There's also there's amplitude, but there's also oh, my mind went blank again. There's something else I should have mentioned, but it's going to pop in my head at some point. So there's something else that you're producing. So I'm assuming that someone who's very low on their potential, someone who has a broken through on their potential, and potential in this case I just mean spiritual potential, they're probably producing brain waves that are less in amplitude. Right, so the goal is to have stronger amplitude within the brainwave. But this is a speculation of mine. It's not like I've read this anywhere or anything like that. So that would probably be the case. But that's not all your brain is doing. When you're using things like Yinnergy, you're also practicing whole brain thinking. So Yinnergy is also trying to take the two hemispheres of your brain and synchronize them. Because most of us are dominant on one side of the brain than the other. So some of us are right brain dominant, and some of us are left brain dominant. Yinnergy helps to synchronize the two hemispheres of the brain, which is also necessary in regards to. So what's important is entropy is the word I was looking for. When you lower your entropy, right? That's a very important word. So people with lower entropy are producing these experiences. Not only just experiences, but people with lower entropy are more closer to freeing themselves from all that is. So they're more liberated and things of that sort because you're lowering your entropy. So by lowering the carrier frequencies, which gives you a higher amplitude, lowers your entropy. So people with lower entropy, which means your brain and nervous system has to have lower entropy for it to do what it does, for you to become a more evolved human being. You have to lower the entropy of your brain and your nervous system. And also synchronize the two hemispheres of your brain. That's important too, and all that. So when a person, if you want to end the game of black and white, if you want to become more integrated, the balancing of the two hemispheres help with that. Because now that when you balance the two hemispheres of your brain, when you're dealing with any situation that requires, it could be anything. It could be, the game of black and white is, my group is better than yours, or males are better than females, or females are better than males. White's better than black, black's better than white. My team's better than your team, my country's better than your team. Whatever, what's considered good and evil, opposing views, all that stuff. Liberal versus conservative, all that stuff. So when you start balancing out the two hemispheres of your brain, you slowly stop playing the game of black and white, because that all has to do with the with the imbalance of the two hemispheres of the brain, because most of us are dominant in one over the other.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so these things start to happen once the two sides starts to integrate.
Oh, I love that. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So like Nathan, very high entropy.
I knew
You knew something was coming, right? So Nathan, really, really, really high. Nathalie, very, very low. The goal is Nathalie, not Nathan. Right?
You say Nathalie, but there's no T in the name. How do you pronounce your name? I'm not.
There is
I'm
a
not
T in her
taking
name.
it
What are you
to Morgan.
talking about?
How do you pronounce your? I don't see no T. I see an L. I see it. Ain't no. Okay, not at the end. Not where.
I didn't say there was a T at the end. I never said Nathalie. What are you talking about? Very high entropy, my friend. Very far away from your potential. What are you talking about?
Is it Nathalie or is it just Natalie? That's
It is not
Natalie.
Natalie.
The
yeah.
H is silent just to mess with people.
Morgan, you're showing high. Showing you high right now. All right, you need to bring it low.
You got to emphasize the H, my friend. He just wants to call you Natalie. He wants to be like the regular Natalie's. That's not happening here. No. With her spiritual journey, Nathalie you can't even have the name Nathalie. It just wouldn't even work with you. You probably were born that way. You're probably Nathalie when you're born. And as time went on, you had to get rid of it.
Gotta find myself a guru name.
Nathan's just trying to hold you back. At some point, Nathan's gonna become Nathan. Nathan, the guru. All right, but you're not there yet, Nathan. Right now, you're still Nathan. Nathan.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's Nathan for you. What you're using, because you're using Yinnergy Level 1, you're resonating to basically these two tones. You're resonating to 213.2 hertz in one ear, and the other ear, you have a pitch frequency of 211.
Oh.
So that's what's playing in each ear. But there's more though. And in addition to that, you're playing 213.1, and the other ear you're playing 210.8, and then the other frequencies 212.9, and the other one is 210.7.
Huh.
And on and on and on.
That's wicked.
As opposed to me just playing a regular binaural beat where you're playing, I don't know, it could be whatever the number is, 213.4 versus 11 versus 2, I don't know, 210.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's still going to give you a binaural beat, but you're not using the harmonics of the math. And you can make a whole program without using the math. You can just make binaural beats, and you're fine. But what I'm trying to do is to make sure that when you're producing a binaural beat, you're not just working on your physical brain. You're also working on your subtle bodies. Your subtle bodies responds more to like sacred geometry and things of that sort. But because I can't play you a shape, I can only play you sound. So I'm using sound, because sound used in this way is still shaped as a circle. It's still a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
Mathematically it is. So all I'm doing is I'm using the math to help stimulate the subtle bodies, because we don't just carry one body. We have a gross body, astral body, mental body, emotional body, ether body, causal body, and non-dual body. So I'm trying to tap more into, as you're stimulating your physical brain, you're also trying to stimulate your subtle bodies.
Oh, what?
Right, just as opposed to because you can make because some will argue, well, why don't you just make a binaural beat? The binaural beat will still work. It'll still meditate you. So you can get a lot more out of it when you make it resonate with what they call perfection. 9 is the only perfect number. All numbers are perfect, but the numbers are perfect when they play up with their polar opposite. So 1 and 8 are polar opposites. 2 and 7 are polar opposites. 3 and 6 are polar opposites, and 4 and 5 are polar opposites. So they're exact same thing, but from the reverse. So if you took 4 and 5 and you did the multiplications on 4 and 5, if I took the multiplications, the answers of the multiplications, and reduced them to a single digit number, all you do is get the numbers back in reverse. So that happens with 1 and 8, 2 and 7, 4 and 5, and 6 and 3. You just get the numbers in reverse. And when you reduce them to single digit numbers. So when people say, well, 7 is the number of God, well, they're right, because 7 is not a 7 without its 2.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because 7 can never be a singular. 7 can't be 7 on its own. 7 only exists because 2 exists.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
1 exists because 8 exists. 3 exists because 6 exists, and 4 exists because 5 exists.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
They always come together. So you can't even separate the two. So that's why any number that someone gives me, they're right. And it's like, well, even if someone says, like, in this math, 1, 4, and 7 are positive numbers, and 2, 8, and 5s are negative numbers. But it's also true that what I just said is also the opposite, because they alternate. So when I do 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, once I come back to my 1 again, 1 becomes a negative number, 2 becomes a positive number, 4 becomes a negative number, 8 becomes a positive number. And it keeps doing that every time I complete a cycle. So both sides are right when in regards to what's considered a positive number was considered a negative number. It just depends on which height, the height of the number, or the level of the number, or the level or the height of the cycle.
Yeah. That's wicked. I know you said you've never explained it properly before, but
I tried teaching it to people for years, and no one gets it. It's very difficult to. You got to show a lot of graphs and stuff, right?
Oh, one day.
A lot of graphs I got to show, because it's very difficult to unless you're showing graphs, it's difficult to say it through words.
Should make a song
you're dealing with numbers, and people already have number phobia, so
phobia.
number phobia.
Just make a song out of it. Try to make a song out of it. You probably go far. See what happens.
Yeah. If everyone's so number phobic, the song will never be a hit. Yeah, but it gets really, really cool when you understand how the math works and how it can be applied. It can be applied to anything. Binaural codes or computer codes are all made up from this math. They just didn't know that's what they were using. It's only for it to work, you have to use the math for it to work. They just didn't know it from that perspective.
That's wicked. Like I'm not in the space of actually understanding it, but I am closer to understanding it than I ever have before. And there's this fascination with like, what is this? What are these mathematics? I'm hooked. And I just remembered you had sent me this video once a long time ago where it was Marco Rodin for like 2 or 3 hours just explaining what the mathematics is.
Yeah.
And then I realized I'd never gotten around to watching it. Now I'm ready to pull that out of my dusty files to actually look at it now.
Well, it caught my attention right away. I sat there and I studied it as much as I could, and then about a year later, I was able to find a way to apply it. So
for you, it was just like you found this video online, it caught your interest, and then you just followed the rabbit trail. That's how you got into the vortex mathematics.
Because I was looking for something like that, because I noticed that the Rubik's Cube, there was something to the Rubik's Cube that I knew. When I was looking at the Rubik's Cube, I was like, there's something about this. And I got the 369s from the Rubik's Cube. So when I was listening to the radio, and I was listening to a podcast, and someone mentioned Marco Rodin and this vortex-based mathematics. I'm like, I have to look this up. And I looked it up, and when I saw the video, I'm like, this is it. This is what I was looking for. And when he explained it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I was nowhere close to even coming up with what this guy was talking about. But after that, so when I took it, I studied it, and I said, there's got to be a way for me to apply this to binaural beats.
Yeah.
And one day on a Saturday afternoon, I was working out, and it hit me when I was lifting the barbell. I was in the center because when I took the numbers and I split them, because the symbol I showed you, the symbol of enlightenment, in the center of it is a 0.
Yeah.
So all I did in my mind is I drew a stick man. The 0 was the head, and I drew the stick man. And I went, oh my gosh, if you had the left barbell on the left side and the right barbell on the right side, oh gosh, all I got to do is take the numbers and take it and flip it on its head, cut them in half. So I have my guy in the middle, and he's holding up the 2 barbells. He's only holding up the 2 plates.
Oh.
Hit me. And I said, oh, all I got to do is take it, flip it, and now I can, because I couldn't figure out how can I do the math based on this 1, 2, 4, 7, 5. I couldn't figure it out. But once I flipped it to the side, I realized that it had nothing to do with the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5s. It had to do with me splitting the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5s and using it on, I don't even know what I'm saying, but something like that anyway. Later on, I did find out there was a way to use the 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5s, which I made later on, which is I made a Yinnergy Harmonics. So I was able to later on create one that's based on the actual 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5s, based on the harmonics of those numbers.
So you were talking about the different types of Yinnergy. So there's Yinnergy Purge, and then you said Yinnergy Harmonics. Like, I'm just curious.
Well, that just has to do with the levels. That just have to do with the levels of Yinnergy. So Yinnergy 1 is like Yinnergy 1 to Yinnergy 4 is Yinnergy Purge. After Yinnergy Purge is Yinnergy Calm. I don't remember what happens after that, but Yinnergy Calm is the next few levels, and then it's another label after that, blah, 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 until you finish 13 levels. But I am working on an additional 12 levels, sub-levels. Yeah. The problem is the headphones doesn't handle those carrier frequencies, but when you try them, there's still benefit. You still get a lot of benefit. It's probably just ruining your headphones. So there is another 12 sub-levels that can happen after that. I just can't vouch for what happens because they may or may not be dangerous. Yeah, because after that point, they really start to, other things can happen in regards to, like, your kidneys burning and all that type of stuff for a period of time. Yeah, anything that your body is producing inside that is alien to the body may show up. It's a good thing is because you became aware of it. It's a bad thing because the discomfort.
So it's almost like
nobody has those frequencies except for me. I'm using them right now, but no one has these frequencies yet. So
you're ridiculous in the best way, Morgan. Oh, wait.
like the Willy Wonka with sound. It's like drifting us. Your kidneys might explode, but you'll reach enlightenment. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Don't pay attention to the guy in the cloth over there. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like,
that's funny. Yeah. So right now I'm experimenting with those and see where it takes me. But these are weird frequencies though, because not much I can say about it yet. It may actually stop meditative mystical type experiences, because you're now dealing with I'm mixing up 2 different things though. So those are the lower carrier frequencies, which I'm using in Yinnergy Harmonics. So I'm not even getting the full whatever dose of that lower frequency because it's mixed with other frequencies. But I'm experimenting more with slower carrier frequency, not slower carrier. I'm messing with slower beat frequencies. So slower than epsilon. So after delta, there's epsilon. After epsilon, there's default network frequencies. After default network frequencies, there's iota. And these are really, really slow frequencies. So this stuff that I'm doing, I had to go through a lot of physical discomfort with doing that, with dealing with these slower beat frequencies.
So this is purely out of curiosity, like.
Yeah, it's all out of curiosity. There's someone that's already working with them, but I decided to try them with the lower carrier frequencies.
And then what was
no one's doing.
You talked about your kidneys hurting.
Yeah, kidneys hurting. I won't even go on with all the other stuff that pops up. There's some other stuff. Yeah, then I got to work out. Right? Certain things should stop working. so like all these things, yeah. So like, yeah, it's crazy. So there's a bit of fear. There's a bit of worry as I'm working these things out to see what happens. Yeah, but I'm willing to be the guinea pig. So if you have a friend who you think I should date, nothing's going to happen there. We're just going to be platonic friends.
Oh man.
So just trying to figure out what happens in these states. They also happen in the higher fast frequencies too. So there's frequencies above the lambda, which is frequencies like 200 to 300 hertz. If you use them long enough, for males, they'll probably go impotent.
Wow.
What? You didn't tell me that.
Nothing, because you're not using them. No one's using them. No one's using them, right? I'm the only one that's tested these things out. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. The frequencies that everyone's using are the frequencies that everyone uses. It's just I use carrier frequencies for them. All the other ones I'm experimenting with, no one's probably using them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
But these are the same things that also happens if you're on a psychedelic. If you're on a psychedelic and you've had profound experiences, you really can't work your bottom half when you're in these states. So the same type of thing kind of happens. It's just you're not in these psychedelic states.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But your brain is probably producing the same type of brainwave function for you to have those states. But when you're doing it on you're not having these states, but you're probably in the same brainwave.
Yeah, I can see that. When you're on psychedelics, aren't you like constipated?
Constipated?
So, like, you can't leave. Constipate. You can't really like do anything. Like,
what do you mean constipated? You can't take a crap?
Yeah, just can't. Like, you can't like use. You can't function like anything. You can't really do anything down there. That's my experience, anyways. I don't know, but
it's not time for you. I don't know what to tell you.
I don't know. Anyways, let's get back to the conversation. You said what you said?
Yeah, I was just talking about sexual stuff. You took it to another level.
My kidneys were acting anyways. Yeah, so Morgan.
Your kidneys were reacting?
No, I'm just messing around. I just couldn't go to the bathroom. I don't know what it was, but it was weird. Anyways, Morgan, what do you have? I don't know.
That was awkward. Okay.
Yep. we can cut it out. Yeah,
don't worry. I'll try. I'll do my best.
This is the first video he's gonna post.
Yeah, I'll do my best. I don't even know what I can use yet because people are not going to understand the math stuff. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. So these are just things that I'm working with right now. They're totally experimental. So let's see where that leads.
That is wicked. Does it take 120 to 180 days per level to work through?
Generally, different for different people. There's some people who have to stay on it longer.
Yeah.
And there's some people who they don't have to stay on it too long. They may only have to stay on it for maybe 4 months or so. It really depends on the individual. But roughly in general, it should be 180 sessions before moving on to the next one. It depends though, because at the lower levels, I've stayed at lower levels for years. Right. I only just moved on to testing out a lower carrier frequency beyond the ones that I've already made out of curiosity. But on level 13, I stayed on level 13 for probably about 4 years. I wasn't ready to move on yet. Wow. Yeah, so it took that long. So I don't know if it's that way for everyone, because no one's ever got to level 13. So I can't vouch for anyone. But right for me, I stayed on it for 2 years. A year wasn't enough, because in the later frequencies, in the later levels, you stay on it for a year. Yeah. Right. So after that, by the time I got to level 13, I ended up staying on that for 4 years. About 4 years. It could be longer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah, it's very interesting stuff. Like the amount of information I carry just from my own experience and experiments of testing out these different things. Oh, but to answer your other question, yeah, I was talking about earlier about the levels. Those are just levels.
Yeah.
Level Yinnergy Purge and Calm and all the other ones, which I can't remember at the moment. But then I have different types of Yinnergies. Like I made one that gives you mostly alpha. So the ones that mostly everyone use, it's mostly delta. So you go through alpha, theta, delta, stay in delta for 40 minutes. But there's I have another type of Yinnergy where you stay in alpha for 40 minutes. So you're like 40 minutes in alpha, 10 minutes in theta, 10 minutes in delta. And there's another one where you stay 40 minutes in theta. And there's another one where I go the other direction where you go in beta, the faster brain waves, beta, gamma, hyper gamma, and lambda. So I have another one where you do 10 minutes in beta, 40 minutes in gamma, and 10 minutes in lambda. And there's another one where it's 10 minutes in beta, 10 minutes in gamma, 40 minutes in lambda. And all that. So you're pushing, working on the other higher or slower, faster or slower brain waves. So there's different types. And then there's Yinnergy Harmonics, where I'm just taking the harmonics of a certain frequency and I'm just going up. I don't know where the notes are for that one, but pretty much if you just have a frequency of, I don't know, 200, just say it's 200 hertz.
Yeah.
Well, let's go with 5. Let's go with 5 hertz, right? And then you're just doing the harmonics of 5. So once you do the harmonics of 5, which is, you have to double it. You're just doubling the number over and over and over again. And so then when you double the numbers, you get the harmonics of whatever number that you're doubling. Because in vortex-based mathematics, the numbers 1, 2, 4, 7, 5, that's a doubling sequence. So double 1, so you have 1, but double 1 is 2, double 2 is 4, double 4 is 8, double 8 is 16, double 16 is 32, and double 32 is 64.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing with Yinnergy Harmonics.
Interesting. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first time I did Yinnergy Harmonics was about a year ago. It was over a year ago, way over a year now. Yeah, because I had to test it out to see what happens under the influence of a sacred medicine of some sort. That's how I test them out, to see what happens under a sacred medicine. So that means I must have been using it for a good year and maybe a year and 4 months. But just to see where it would take me. But without this stuff, without the sacred medicines and all that stuff, when I first started doing harmonics, I had what kind of experience have I had? I had an experience where I put them on, and by the time I got to the 40-minute mark, around 40 minutes, around half an hour, just pure light just popped in my mind. Just light just went. I was in this state for about, it wasn't long. I was probably in the state for about a few minutes or so. It was so profound, and then it just diminished as I hit this high state, and it diminished back to my regular normal meditative state. It never happened again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. I'm just absorbing everything you're saying, and I'm blown away about the potential of of working with these technologies. Like the human experience and what's beyond it is absolutely fascinating. Yeah, okay, 2 things. One of them was you mentioned that HoloSync and Yinnergy are one of the few that use carrier frequencies in the technology. Yeah. What do other binaural beat like?
What do? They just keep them regular. Others probably do play with carrier frequencies, but they probably don't know that they're using them. We use carrier frequencies in a conscious way, where we intentionally are using carrier frequencies to create a certain purpose. Someone else may be using a carrier frequency only because they just made the binaural beat that way. They didn't realize that they were using a carrier. That's why it's really iffy to like use certain binaural beats on the internet, because you don't know what the carrier frequency is. Right. So that could be, I wouldn't say dangerous, but I had a friend who listened to a binaural beat on the internet, I think off YouTube, and for like, I swear, I think it was for about 10 months, maybe less, about 6 to 10 months, she kept seeing this angel of light that kept that would appear from time to time, just right in front of her while she's talking to people. And she would, one time I was with her and she's like, oh, she's sitting right there, right beside you. And it kept on happening on a regular basis until one day it just disappeared. So now she doesn't see it anymore. But it happened for her listening to this meditation one time. but the person probably had a certain carrier frequency that she wasn't used to that helped that made her trigger it. And in her sense, it was a good thing. But
Yeah.
you know, someone else could have had that same experience and frightened them.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right? So the carrier frequency is important. You have to watch out for that, because someone could be listening to a carrier frequency that's too low. She probably had a refined nervous system why she was able to handle that. But she would see them and she'd bring it up. She would call me. She goes, "Oh, I'm looking at the being right now," and she would just sit there and watch it until the being would disappear. Yeah,
Wow.
she's tapping into her subtle body. So that means if she's tapping into her subtle body and she's still awake, she's awake while in her dream state. She's doing both at the same time, simultaneously. So she'll be able to see this being while awake, because your subtle body represents your dreaming state.
Oh, interesting. I've never heard it described like that before.
Yeah, you have your gross body, which is tied to the waking state. So when you're awake, that's your waking state. When you fall asleep in your dream, that's your subtle body. When you have dreamless sleep, that's your causal body, and so on.
Oh.
And then the fourth one is Turiya. That's the empty witness. And then after Turiya, Tiriya Tita, and that's the non-dual state. So these are just deeper levels into the sleep patterns. So the goal with, like, say with Yinnergy, the goal is, can I produce delta, which represents the dreamless sleep? Can I produce delta while awake? So if you're producing delta while awake, you are capable of having the empty witness experience.
The what experience?
The empty witness. So that's the empty witness, the essence of what you actually are, looking at its own divinity.
Ooh, okay.
And you can only do that if you're producing delta while awake, or while sleeping. But while awake, if you can do that while awake every day, you're in the Turiya state, the fourth state of consciousness.
Is there a difference between, so you say if you produce delta while being awake, then you can have produce the empty witnessing experience. Is that different from, I'm Nathalie witnessing what's happening in my living room right now, versus some sort of empty witnessing experience that allows you to go, for example, beyond perception? Or
I would say empty witness is witnessing that Nathalie is producing the state, is watching whatever's happening in her experience.
Okay, so it's like increased presence.
Yeah, you can say that, or you can say reduce.
Oh, okay, hold on, keep going with that.
Yeah, it can even be reduced, because the goal is to become nothing. All right.
Yeah.
So like when you go back to Ram Dass and he says, I am nobody. Is that what he says? Something like, I am nobody, or the goal is to become nobody. So you can say you're reducing your ego, or reducing the sense of self to the nothingness, which is conscious of everything.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, one way to look at it.
Oh, okay, that's cool. That's really cool.
Just created there's another Yinnergy where I created the audio coil Yinnergy. So basically I'm making the frequencies the same frequencies that would be used in a rodent coil. I don't know how to explain it at the moment, but for rodent coil. So I was able to use the frequencies on the second half of the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Where these frequencies are changing according to the frequencies of the rodent coil. I came up with that from microdosing. I was microdosing for a few weeks, and that popped in my mind. I worked out the math, and the math worked, and I applied it to the software that I was using, the sound generator software, and it worked out perfectly. So I made them in gamma, I made it in alpha, and in theta, and probably one in delta. I just don't remember. So yeah, Yinnergy can be used in so many different ways if you just know how to work the math.
That's fascinating. Like, wow.
Yeah. That's why I have all these books. Yeah, just figuring out the math and all that. And I figured out other things that outside of Yinnergy based on working on the math and all that. That's how I realized or generational family tree also uses vortex-based mathematics. So remember I said there's 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5. So which is 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. So there's myself, and I have 2 parents. So that's my 2. So I'm 1. That's 2. My 2 parents. My 2 parents have 2 parents each. So that's 4 grandparents. So that's your 4. And then those 4 grandparents are going to have their parents each, and that's going to be, what I said, 4, 8, and then you go into 16, and you go to, so when you go backwards on yourself and your family tree, you get 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5 into infinity.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, until the very first man, coming from the very first primate, whatever the case is, back to the very first cell, all the way back to that. But even then, you can even go further back, and it is into infinity, because this is not the first black hole of the Big Bang. There's been multiple Big Bangs, trillions of times before this one. So it all goes all the way back into infinity as well.
That's wild.
Yeah, mitosis also goes vortex-based mathematics. 1 cell divides into 2, and then 2 into 4, and then into 8, and 16, and 32. If you take the Jesus and you did a numerology on Jesus Christ and did the numerology on Mary Magdalene, you would get 7. You'll get 7 when you reduce it to a single digit number. You'll get 7 for Jesus, and you'll get 2 for Mary. And if you break down all the disciples, what was the math again? When you break down the names of the disciples, you get something. What was it again? I don't remember the information. It's in one of these books.
Is it
So when
14?
you break down their names, their names also worked out perfectly in regards to, I think it all added up. Yeah, I think when you add them all up together, you get 9. Or when you crunch, you add their numbers together, the numerology numbers together, and you crunch it down to a single digit number, you get 9.
That's interesting. You got all these examples popping in.
Yeah, all these other stuff started popping up. If you took your DNA, the DNA, what do they call? Gosh, where is all this information? DNA. Where did they put that information? It's on this phone, but the phone's off.
Just turn it on.
It's too much work, and then I got to turn it on. I got to find the information. It's too much. My phone takes a while to turn on. When you're using an iPhone 7, it's not the same as an iPhone 14. I don't have the patience to wait 10 seconds.
Jeez. You telling me you could wait 12 years to have an enlightening experience? You can't wait 12 seconds for your phone to turn on?
Sorry, 12 years for enlightening experience? God, that took me 16 years.
16 years. Oh my God. I would so read a memoir with Morgan, like with all of your stories along the way.
Already you made that very overwhelming. Yeah, that's way too overwhelming. I'm willing to sit there to talk it all out someday, yeah. But that journey is so overwhelming that if someone says, "Tell me your story," I'm like, how many weeks do you have? Because this is going to take a very, very long time to get through. And there's things I don't even remember.
Oh God, I feel you in that.
Yeah, because there's the mini ones too, right? But even a lot of the extraordinary ones I don't remember anymore unless I go through an experience. I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember having an experience like that. Yeah, but there's just too many. There's way too many. Yeah. And if I got into it, I'll curl up in the ball and start bawling my eyes out. Yeah, 'cause I don't even know how, some of the stuff, I don't even know how I survived or even stayed sane through some of these profound mystical experiences. Not all of them led to an awakening, but even the ones that didn't lead to an awakening, just extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. If I did Yinnergy Alpha, where you're doing 40 minutes in Alpha, 40 minutes in Alpha, 10 minutes in Theta, 10 minutes of Delta, you can create ultimate love, if you want to call it that. Absolute love you can create from that level. So you don't have a breakthrough where you realize that you're God, but you break through to the point you realize God's love. And it's a love for the entire universe. That happens when you're focused more in Alpha, it seems like.
Yeah.
So that I know. When you focus on Delta, you can break into a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
of Tyria Theta, of Tyria. That happens. And if you do it in the gamma stages, it seems like the same thing happens in the gamma lambda area. Gamma is like 40 hertz, 42, 100 hertz, and lambda is 100 to 200.
Oh wow,
So
that's high.
Yeah. So when you use those states, you can break into different types of spiritual awakenings, not profound experiences. I want to make sure that people understand that those two things are different. But you can have different types of spiritual awakenings in these ranges. It doesn't seem to happen in theta. It doesn't seem to happen in delta, but it can happen in delta. Sorry, it doesn't seem to happen in alpha and theta, but it seems to happen in delta, epsilon, gamma, and lambda.
Phew. Okay. That's amazing.
Insane, huh? Yeah.
Like what's possible is mind blowing. I knew I'd get to the end of the call and be like, oh, my mind is blown. Like I don't even know what to say right now. I'm so fascinated.
Yinnergy is a stargate. In delta, you can also tap into experiencing all human atrocities at that level, if you can handle it.
Yeah.
So you get to experience the pain and suffering of all human beings and all animals in these levels. And if you can experience that and survive, you can tap into pure compassion and pure empathy at the highest level. When you focus in delta before you have the break, because so you'll experience all that stuff, where you experience all the human atrocities of all kinds, human natural disasters, all those things, and then when you get to the breaking point, where you feel like you just want to kill yourself. I have to make that clear. Like the point where you say, I'm going to end this right now. You break, and then you have a spiritual awakening. Yeah. So at that point, you experience the total opposite of what you just experienced.
Oh.
Because you experience the lowest of the low, like I'm talking about human beings at their worst. And then you break, and then you have the opposite of what you just experienced, and it makes it all worth it. And then you just have a different outlook on humanity itself.
Yeah.
You know, that when you experience that amount of pain and suffering,
Oh,
you're experiencing everything. Mental illness, you're experiencing all the atrocities. You're experiencing all the desires that never been fulfilled. You're experiencing all types of diseases.
Yeah.
Like if someone says, "Oh, you don't know what it's like to have AIDS and whatever," I was like, "Yeah, I do know what that's like, temporarily, right?" Because you can see yourself on a sickbed dying from AIDS. You're tapping into somebody else's stuff where someone's actually at the brink of dying. You can experience that. It's mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing to experience another person's shit. You know what it's like to experience famine, like to be in a third world country starving to death? Other people's like, why would you want to experience that? It's like, no, you're experiencing from a spiritual standpoint.
Yes.
At an open standpoint where you dropped all your bias and all that stuff, and all you're experiencing is an open heart to experience what another human being experiences on a daily basis. When you experience something like that, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Right? And then when you can't take it anymore, you break. And when you break hard. And then you realize that you are the ultimate, that you are experiencing what it means to be ultimately human. Oh my gosh, people don't understand how incredible these states are. Like the average person does not understand.
Yeah.
Right? Like
something Peter Olson talks about all the time. He's like, but what's the practical side of just seeking the truth and having these experiences and whatnot? And he goes deeper into that subject. He's like, what's the practicality of it? And he touched on the fact of, well, if you don't understand the mechanisms that keep you from truth, you won't realize how much they influence how happy you are or how much you're suffering. Right?
That's right.
The framework that you're operating with is not you. It's not the self. It's all conceptual, like absolutely mind-blowing.
Absolutely mind-blowing. He's so right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Absolutely mind-blowing. And when a human being understands humanity from that level of depth, when you're done with that and you realize, you know what, my life is not as shitty as I thought it was.
Oh, talk about setting, like, what's it called? Like giving you some perspective, eh?
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that's a vast understatement. Because as you were describing, like, well, have you ever experienced this? Famine, AIDS, like, and you were listing all of these things off. I could just through the words sense like the sheer concentration of every single experience, but the sheer intensity of each one culminating into that point of just, I cannot.
Yeah, I cannot take it anymore. I surrender. Because at that point, he's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm surrendering my life because I cannot take this anymore.
Wow. You went beyond the mechanism of self-survival to get to the other side where you have that
the other side
experience.
Yeah.
Not consciousness, but of truth.
Of truth. Nathan had a question, I think.
Oh no, I was just doing hand signs because everyone's doing this, so I thought I'd do that too. Just to
be part of it. I don't want to be part of this. Let me use my hands.
You make it sound like D-Day, like you're trying to get through the break through the Nazis or something. I don't know.
Oh, oh, really?
No, I was doing this. No. I was doing this, not this.
Oh, you're doing this. You made up your own, right? Only Nathan.
No, cut that. Cut.
Off with your head.
Oh man.
Only Nathan. Yeah. I don't think personally it's something I could ever do again. I don't know if I have the threshold to do that again emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, but I've had my fair share. I had my fair share where when you get it, you really get it. It's like, this is humanity in a nutshell. Oh my gosh, it's insane. Absolutely insane. But to know that we all have this potential to experience. Because a lot of people say, what's the point of the experience? Like kind of like what you were saying earlier, like what's the point of the experience? And it's like, it's not the experience itself. It's how that experience changes your perspective on life and how you see other human beings. Especially if the goal is to become world-centric or to become cosmocentric, these experiences can definitely help someone get there. With practice, of course, because I don't think you can just have that experience and just become world-centric. Your nervous system and your brain has to refine itself and to be able to handle something like that, right? So that takes practice, that takes time.
Yes, I felt into that, throughout my experiences over the years, the entrainment of the nervous system to be able to handle those stronger frequencies, energies, whatever it is that you want to call it. I really love the way that you use the word refined.
You're going in and out.
Oh,
yeah,
with your audio?
Yeah, I can. You're like you're going like this and then.
Oh man, that sucks for the recording. Well,
could you repeat what you
something's
said?
gonna only be for us then. Something's gonna only be for us. You probably get a good 5 minutes out of this. That's it. But that's okay, as long as the three of us have a better understanding about the human condition. That's what's important. Maybe it's just something that the three of us need.
Nah, I want the views. Let's get the views.
Not gonna get a lot of people watching this stuff. It's at least not at first, right? But yeah, the views would be nice. Yeah. So what time we were at? 3:06?
I was just about to say I'm gonna have to head out at this point, but thank you so much for putting this together, Morgan. Like,
my pleasure. And see what else is going to come out of this, out of the Yinnergy, and also through other experiences, because now there's people in different countries who are using this. If they use it as religiously as some of us have, I wonder how they're going to affect the people around them. So that will be interesting. That's something I'd have to wait 25 years for. But I'd like to see what comes out of this. Like Nathan's already affecting people, and he probably doesn't even know it, but he is affecting other people.
So. Yes. Oh wow. We'll see what happens.
All right, a little bit at a time. All about having a refined brain and nervous system. People resonate to that. Unconsciously, people are resonating to that. So the more conscious you become of that this is what's being done, the more gratifying that can become.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love this evolutionary journey.
It's one hell of a journey.
All right. Let's see how much deeper it goes. Like it goes this deep, and then it's like it goes that deep. Like, how deep does this go?
Yeah, and there's other times where it's so mundane. You're like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? I've been stuck here for 3, 4, 5 months. Nothing's happening, and all of a sudden, boom!
Comes out
You
of
never know
nowhere.
what could happen, right? You never know what could happen.
Will Smith just comes out and slaps you. You know, he's
Brings you right back to reality, eh? Get my wife's name out of your fucking mouth!
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you so much,
I
Morgan.
also just want to say how much you've changed my life on my journey. If it wasn't for you, I remember the moment that I met you drinking ayahuasca, and I had a breakthrough, and I was about to lose my shit.
Yeah.
And no one would come and help me when I needed help the most. And you're laying across from me somewhere, and you said, "Excuse me, do you need some help?" Or something like that. And I went, "Yes. I just need someone to help me in this moment here." And that's how we met. That's how we met. And because of you, by meeting Chad and all that stuff, the stuff that happened with just my work with Chad alone, just absolutely just took me to a level I never even thought was possible. And I owe that to you.
Oh my God, received that. I received that so deeply because what's the word I'm looking for? Like like I look up to you so much because of the way, first of all, just the sheer tremendous journeys that you've had, and yet you're the most humble, down-to-earth person I've ever met. Like so deeply intelligent.
Nathan is laughing. Shut up, Nathan. Let her speak.
Sorry, go on.
Ruin the moment, Nathan.
Ooh, okay.
Please carry on. This was going so well.
So yeah, so for you to inspire me so much, and then to hear that I've played an integral role into helping you become who you are today is like I'm gonna have to like receive it, like fully absorb it.
If it wasn't for you, my friend, I'm telling I'm just when you go back and you start tracking, how did this happen? You track it. Oh my gosh, it's because I met this person and blah 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 blah. Yeah. I'm just like, and your name just keeps popping up. I'm like, oh my gosh, this woman was supposed to be in my life, you know?
What? Oh.
Yeah, and in person, I think I've only met you maybe 4 times.
Yeah, no more
maybe
than
4?
that.
Yeah, no more than that, right? And it's like you played such a significant role. So
I'm so glad we keep weaving in and out of each other's lives, where we might go like 6, 8 months without talking, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, you know, Yinnergy's calling me again. All the conversations we've had about what you've experienced along the journey, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, one hell of a journey. Gosh. Yeah, Nathan, you'll experience this someday.
Yeah.
Feeling all left out. You know what your problem is, Nathan? Because you keep judging people.
What's
Shame on you.